Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Big Decisions for Anfield Index. It's late at night, I appreciate that, but we're here to carry you through to bedtime. The main act, because apparently there was some rumour you had some nonsense with someone called Gags or something talking, so there's some real content for you now. And I'm delighted as ever to be joined by my old mucker, Trev Downey. It's been a while, sir. How are we?
I'm good, buddy. Yeah, it has been a while. You know, that's my first time being in the presence of that very patented opening of yours as well. I've never been in its live presence before, so that's nice. That's a nice first for me. Looking forward to this one because God knows there's enough to talk about and many big decisions to be made. You've picked out a few, so I'm looking forward to pulling them apart with you.
Yeah, but before we get into this, people, I get you all want 86,797 decisions to be made by Liverpool, FSG, Arne-Slot and everything like that. But it's just 3 as ever we're going to narrow it down to. And we'll start, Trev, with in a season of darkness that hasn't gone how anyone has wanted it so far. There has been a beacon of hope, let's call it that. Almost like if this had been modern era or go back to the 80s, Princess Leia would probably have said, "Help me, Dominik Szoboszlai, you are my only hope." I mean, the way it's worked so far, 99% of the players have been terrible this season, but not Dominik Szoboszlai, eh?
Yeah, I don't know if it's papered over an awful lot of cracks. And when you think sometimes about the early games where we were winning late, and he's responsible for one of those narrow wins with a piece of magic, and he's got his assists there as well. And it just makes you wonder because we spoke, you and I, a lot about how the midfield was not functioning as with Wirtz in there. It wasn't really a functioning thing in any way, shape or form. And the reason is obvious. And when we took Dom out to do a job at right back brilliantly, it was even worse. So it is lovely to see him operating where he's best. But, you know, clearly it would be helpful if some other people were operating at their best alongside him. And I do feel, I'll be honest with you, I do feel that even if he hadn't been as stellar as he has, and I don't mean goals and assists, we're talking about a guy here whose engine is central to Liverpool doing anything good ever. And if he had not been pulling up trees in that regard this season, and even over the last few games, imagine how much worse things may have gone. I think people really need to get their heads around that because he is everywhere all at once, like that movie. He's covering back, he's making interceptions, he's blocking passing lanes, he's involved in our creative work. An absolutely wonderful footballer operating at his best, and you just really hope that some of them are going to give him a dig out over the next few weeks, and that the manager understands how best to use the resources around Dom, because he's the thing making us tick, Dave.
Yes, he's central to everything. I love the way you put that as well. He is literally digging up trees at the moment, and there's some good stuff going around in the analysis of him. So I know Sam Maguire wrote this. So shout out to that saying he's the best midfielder in Europe, the main man for this Liverpool team in transition. And you talked about it as well, Trev. I mean, for Christ's sake, right back in the double pivot, now restored into the 10 and, you know, the press from the front. But even just the things that Sam wrote about, which is true, the way he's facilitated Salah and Wirtz this season, it tends to be when they've shone or when they've played well, he is absolutely central. So you're right, everyone else is getting criticised, but the numbers he's pulling up in all areas. And there's a nice line in this about a little bit of justifying Jurgen Klopp and shows how good a move that was. And one of the things I did want to sort of allude to there is the way he's moved back into that 10 in the press. And Klopp always talked about the best attack is that counter press, isn't it? And returning the ball over quickly up high. It's no coincidence, and we'll take the City shit show out of it. But the recent games when it's been good, Dominik Szoboszlai pressing from the front, crucial.
Yeah, and it's a real throwback to the Klopp era and the whole sort of introduction to us of Gegen pressing and all that stuff that was so exciting in the early days of Klopp and became such a feature of every Klopp team. And I am the last person to start getting misty-eyed about Jurgen. I'll be honest, it kind of sticks in my craw, all this. Clearly, the man had such a massive impact on people that he was either their surrogate daddy or their surrogate brother or their surrogate friend. And I get all that. I do. And he's a massive personality and hugely positive influence on our football club. But if an era is over, living in it constantly is of zero help. In fact, it's a hindrance. The thing about Dominik is that his form and his method of playing the game is such a throwback to that Klopp era, ironically, because, you know, he's not a Klopp player, but he has that kind of just constant energy, constant drive, and married to an ability. So we used to see Sadio Mane put in a remarkable shift, but he was a wonderful baller. You'd see Bobby Firmino put in a remarkable shift. But again, incredibly silken skills, and that combo is really important. But at the moment, if we're being honest, it's not his creative play. It's not even his progressive play from the back when he's right back. It's the fact that he gets around and gets involved in everything, all the dirty work, all the bits. Did you see the article, Dave? I saw it today, so I don't know when it came out, but I read it. It was an interview with Ox, and he was talking about his time at Liverpool under Klopp.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Right. And his thing was that Klopp gave him this renewed appreciation for making blocks and making interceptions and chasing down things and winning throw-ins high up the park. And he was celebrating like a lunatic on the sideline. And it just reminded me that players are still human and they're still very, very open to the positive side of praise and reinforcement. And you know, and if anyone embodies that attitude in our team at the moment, it is Dom Szoboszlai.
It's just, and you talk about all the things off the ball, on the ball, and if you are one of our famous nerds or you're into your stats, tell you what, people, it might just be time to get your tissues ready a little bit, because look at this for some. And shout out to our Hungarian counterpart, Jimmy, with this. But, I mean, you can see there, Trev, you don't need to be a stat nerd to see that's a lot of green. That's a lot of 90 percentile plus in anything. But this is one that's just worth calling around, as they call it, the threat in the final third, or the turnover rate high up, 100th percentile, i.e., there is no one better than Dominik Szoboszlai right now. And, I mean, those stats come into the mix. Even as you talked about, you can sometimes, you know, goals and assists don't tell a full picture. But the fact he's got 7 goals and assists already from a guy who's been right back at times this season as well. And you think about that unbelievable free kick as well against Arsenal. I mean, your eyes tell you it. The stats tell you it as well. There's just no real fault in his game right now.
Even for a guy like me who is deliberately, not because of a lack of understanding, but through choice, I want you all to understand that, is comparative statistical Luddite. I don't care enough. I'm sorry. I love all of you guys who work with our channel, but it doesn't do the thing for me that it does for other people. But this guy crunches numbers, and I again, I'm a bit Martin O'Neill. XG, what's that? You know, I do kind of like. I find myself nodding along, but you know, as you said, in every appreciable metric, it's there for you to see. But the eye test is the one, and it's the one that, let's be honest, it's the one that Dirk Kuyt used to tick the boxes in for people as well. That level of effort has been sadly lacking in so many of our top players.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible, Jesus Christ, that's a terrible indictment of...
Yeah.
Right? It's that, in no way is that okay. That he is the paragon that we have to look up to. He's the only one. Now, I'm not saying he's the only good performer. I think Curtis has had good spells. Virgil has been solid. The keeper, well, Ali's been good. I think Mamardashvili's finding his way in. Outside of those, though, in terms of people who are really impacting the play on the pitch and playing in every game, the rest of them don't hold a candle in terms just of that one metric of however you want to assess it, whether it's yards run or presses or interceptions or whatever it happens to be. Nobody's touching Dom, and that's not okay.
Yeah. It probably does look around at times. There's a bit of you when you're watching, you think, is he just going to snap at some point and just go like, anyone, like, please just give me a bit of something. So, yeah, it's just as good as he's been. We've got to factor that in, people, how bad the others have been across the board largely. In terms of the longer term, this is a bit of sexy stuff we like to see, especially because we go on the transfer show and talk about contracts and things. So there's been suggestions for, our good friend Fabrizio has had it there. And Liverpool have started talks with him, trying to get that deal done. I mean, a couple of things are easy to say. Of course, we want it done. Of course, we want him extended. 25 at his peak. All the, you've seen the links with Real City, and let's just call those carefully placed agent talk as well. But doing the good job for his client, of course. In terms of this, though, this might not be the easiest negotiation, may it, Trev? Because Stella, Virgil, massive renewal money. So that put the bar a little higher. We know, as we've said before, Gakpo got his deal renewed. And suggestions are that, as we said on the transfer show, around 225k we're talking for Gakpo. So when Szoboszlai and his agent rock up to the table, I know you can say apples and oranges, but he'll be looking and going, well, I'm more valuable to the team than Cody. You're putting these guys on astronomical funds. Get me up there. This might not be straightforward, might it?
I don't see how it's straightforward at all. Now, you've got a couple of things at play here, and I know you're probably going to introduce it, but of course, you had to do a solo transfer show. Very interesting. I listened to it there, I think, yesterday and really enjoyed it. It was either yesterday or this evening. Like, everything mixes up with me. Really enjoyed the show and the talk about the various contract situations. And it's not a coincidence, is it, that there are stories doing the rounds now about Dom and Real and Dom and Barca and Dom and Bayern or whoever you want to hear. But I have heard the Real ones twice. Yeah. And of course, they're going to be out there. And people, every time, Dave, they get taken by surprise by this stuff. When it's clearly plants in the media, quite often by agents, you understand why they're doing it. You understand that. And by the way, they're correct to do it. Their job is to get whatever they can for their player. Now, here's the phrase I've been hearing from several people, and I've been using it myself in relation to Szoboszlai. You watch him this season, you bear in mind Virgil's age. Captain in waiting is the phrase that I keep hearing. Now, if he buys into that and the club buy into that, there may be some way that there could be a financial sort of staggered thing arranged that he will, see more money and at a slightly later date or something like that. I'm not sure if they can really do work contracts like that.
Yeah.
But I don't see how we don't do the deal. And I couldn't agree with you more because we've gone out of our way. And by the way, Isak's not on small money either. So because we've gone out of our way to settle up with the two boys, like you said, dead right. They've set the bar, and the bar set high. And if you got your best performing footballer by a country mile, the captain of his country from a very young age, and like I said, a captain in waiting written all over him for Liverpool Football Club, you better pay that guy. So there's so much business to be done, Dave, that what people aren't going to want to hear is, I guess there are going to have to be more outgoings to fund some of this. No one wants to talk about that.
No, yeah, it's funny, you're right. And as I mentioned the players, I mentioned the existing players and what we renewed. You're right to call it as well. Isak came in, Wirtz came in. Like, these didn't come in for a packet of Lambert and Butler and a few refresher bars. These are on top money, these boys. So the bar's just nudged up all the time. And you're right to talk about the captain element, because people will say, oh, well, others, but vice captain, you expect, probably there's going to be a departure there, and Robbo will get into that shortly. There's question marks around a great majority of that leadership group and who might step into it as well. I like captain in waiting. I suppose the final thing on this, because I don't mind waxing lyrical because it's nice to have a bit of positivity in the season that's been pretty dour so far. But right now, this is a big call because we've got some big stars still in our team, no matter what's happened this season. Is he the first name on the team sheet right now?
If everyone's fit and Arne Slot has a brain in his head, if everyone's fit, Alisson Becker's the first name on the team sheet because he's a difference maker in the area that we need to make a difference in badly, because we're conceding goals at a rate that's totally unacceptable. Just totally unacceptable. The results are, over a long period of time now, totally unacceptable. They're there for everyone to see. Just watch them. Look at the percentages of defeats in away games. Look at the overall points taken in say, even just look at the calendar year of 2025 when the league was won. It's not good enough. However, if you're talking about someone who has an all-round impact on the team and can do great work defensively and help us in attack, yeah, I mean, it's saying something, man, that he's ahead of Virgil, who's been solid. And he's obviously ahead of Mo Salah by a country mile. He's ahead of a big name signing like Florian Wirtz. Yeah. And he really is. He really is. He's like, you're right. He is the first name in the team sheet because of everything that he offers to the team. And does that not tell you all you need to know when it comes to contract talks as well? Him and his agent could pull our pants right down, and we'll have to say thank you, sir.
Yeah. We will be the receivers in this situation. Yeah, exactly that. So, but there you go, people. If there's any doubt, Dominik Szoboszlai is world class. And by the way, if you're watching this back and you are one of our archetypal nerds like Bart's, probably just want the angina sprays ready for when we show the graphs and all the green on the charts and the numbers. So we'll give you that preparation ready. The second topic, you mentioned this, man. And I don't know, for me, Trev, it's like almost you can talk about a topic too much as pundits want to latch on to, that everyone wants to talk about Florian Wirtz and what's wrong, what's not happening. And yet I watch games like the City one. And I'm like, if you think Florian Wirtz was the key problem in that, you probably need to watch it again. I'm not saying he was good, but, look at everything else. But you've got the Neveler coming out with stuff like that, haven't you? Famous lines that cheap interactions, aren't they? Wirtz is a problem. I thought he looked like a little boy. Yeah. He's getting it tight from every angle of the British media, Florian Wirtz, right now, isn't he?
He is. And look, I'll be straight up and say that it's the first time I've ever heard anything I said echoed by Gary Neville, because the thing I said on Raw afterwards was that there were times when it looked like he was a younger guy playing with men, which is essentially the same point, because he did get monstered in the physical, at least to the eye test he did.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to impose any sort of dominance in any period in that game. And I think what we have to do, though, is weigh it up. And the way you framed it, I thought was spot on. It's not like he's the problem. The problem in the City game was a lack of application across the board. We've got a lad there who's, like you said, earning 220 grand a week and is now the face of Bentley Motors in the UK. And, I mean, he's not pulling up any trees. You've got Mo Salah, who's the greatest footballer that any of us have seen for years, performing for Liverpool, who looks like a shadow of himself. I saw him for Egypt there today. You know what the difference is? Big old smile on his face.
Yeah.
I have this thing, I have this theory that there's something a little bit awry, and I hope it's not as massive as my darkest place that I go to is there a possibility with all the coming and going and with some of the players nearing the end of their time at the club, is there a possibility that there has been a shift away in the dressing room from complete support and faith in the manager? Because that's where I start to really worry. And the reason I bring that up, Dave, is because Florian Wirtz is going to be the one who suffers most as a result of anything that happens like that. Because Arne had sold him a dream, and it's turned out to be an absolute nightmare for the kid. You would not be surprised if he was thinking, what the fuck have I done here? Why have I done this? One day he's playing up on the right-hand side. Next, he's playing the left-hand side. He's in a pivot. He's the 10. He's all over the shop. It's a point you've made really well in several shows. Nothing about the vision that he would have been sold by Slot has panned out. And he is not to blame for that. That's just lazy shit. If anyone is to blame for that, it's the manager for not tweaking things much earlier to take the pressure off him having to be seen as this orchestrator when it clearly wasn't working.
Yeah, and it clearly wasn't working. I mean, you talk about that City game, and it is right to say, it's the application of many, and he did get bullied off the ball at times quite easily. You can't ignore that. The facts are what they are. And yet, as you said, where he's been used everywhere, I mean, that's his heat map for the City game. And it literally looks like someone's dropped slug pellets all over the pitch, doesn't he? He's literally everywhere. So the one thing I did think in the game out of that one is at least he's trying, he's running everywhere, or, he's trying to pick up the ball and make things happen. But often he got the ball and there was a bit of, is anyone going to help? Is he almost suffering at the moment from, we look at certain games and we're all saying this all the time. What is the actual plan? Can anyone just, talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old or a golden retriever here? What is the plan with Florian Wirtz?
I know it's the easy thing is to pile on that kid because he was so expensive, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But you end up sounding like one of these absolute daft idiots that's got an account with loads of numbers in it or the LFC something, and they just spout shite about players and full of invective and full of bile and full of reactionary nonsense. I feel nothing but sympathy for this. Am I frustrated that he's not playing? Yes. Am I frustrated that Alexander Isak hasn't done a hand's turn for us yet? Yes, I am. Hugely. But I cannot land where I'm angry at Florian Wirtz because almost 80 to 90% of the issue is not him, because you can see, again, going back to the stats, you can see chance creation, you can see his impact in a game, despite the fact that everyone around him is underperforming massively, has still been quite good. So I feel nothing but sympathy for this kid, because whatever it is that we are doing in terms of, like you said, a plan is not comprehensible to us as viewers, and clearly not comprehensible to the players, because if it is, they're either deliberately not carrying it out or they don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't even know what you call Sunday, because people talked about how well we've done, and Slot had mentioned it, like, especially against Real, we were going to do a low block or a high press. There was no way we were going to be in between and we will close the spaces. And yet against City, we seem to do the exact opposite, and everyone looks lost at the same time. And this is important to mention because Florian Wirtz has specific attributes, specific skills that Liverpool bought him for. And you mentioned his chance creation and, one for the nerds, but it's fair to bring this in, like, as it says there in this tweet, he's either the top or joint top-ranked player in the Champions League this season in terms of open play categories for chances created, expected assists, big chances created as well. And it's funny in terms of sometimes accounts, like you say, just spout nonsense, but you'll have seen some of the highlights or those compilation accounts, which are quite good to see as well. There was a brilliant one I saw today, Trev, which just had it's called Wirtz Getting Robbed. It's worth a search, people, as well. But you saw it where he created a chance and a Liverpool player should have taken it, or didn't get squared to him when he's an open goal, just for a tap in and all that type of thing. And even Nagelsmann said, didn't he, in his press conference, that Wirtz is suffering, that Liverpool don't seem to want to pass him or shoot the ball at the right time as well. But it's hard to rally against that when you see stats for chances created, expected assists. You see him not getting the ball. You just kind of come back to that conclusion. We're just not using him or utilising him in the right way.
I think so. And you did say a phrase there. The name of that compilation is Wirtz Getting Robbed. Ironically, that's the one that sticks in the craw most when you're watching games, is the fact that he can lose possession or that he can be beaten in challenges.
Yeah.
And for us to expect it to be any different was really daft. For us to expect that this guy was going to come in and be a physical monster who can stand up to the big rocks that he's up against in the Premier League, we weren't really thinking. So we've either got to have a situation where we're moving forward an awful lot as a team, and he is directing that flow, so we minimize the amount of the other stuff. Or you have a situation where he's protected from having to do an awful lot of that by playing, let's say, on the left-hand side and getting involved. It's not like he doesn't track back. It's not like he doesn't work really hard. His distance covered in any given game is as high as anybody's. So, I have nothing but sympathy for this kid. I really do. But at some stage, Dave, it's not going to be okay to say Florian Wirtz will be a great player for Liverpool, because it's getting tedious. It's getting tedious, and you do feel like this next chunk of fixtures could have an awful lot of say in, whether or not there's buy-in for RNA long term. I don't think we get rid of anyone in the middle of the season, but I do think there might be big questions if we don't have a really good run off the back of this international break. And if we do have a really good run off the back of the international break, Florian Wirtz is going to have to be central to it.
Yeah, it does feel that way. We can't just... It's not sweeping statements, but we just can't keep pushing sort of any sort of judgment out, forever until it comes good. That's not the way it works. And you mentioned the left as well there. And it's only one game, but you always think back to that Real Madrid game and how he was utilised there. And you thought it worked well with Robbo, because Robbo was able to sort of, overlap, come into play. He pressed well, and he started on the left, but he wasn't on the left as the heat map showed, and he was all over. Surely, in essence, there's different ways of getting him in the team. People may think about the 10, but just on that left-hand side, it seems the smartest route at the moment, at least, doesn't it?
It does, in a way, to get our most creative players on the park at the same time. And people, I thought, made a very fair point that an awful lot of us were wittering about getting the old midfield back together, and it's the only way we can get through this.
Yeah,
and they were back together against City, and they were absolutely hapless as a unit. But I will say that there was so much to like about the previous match that there should be no reason why we can't recreate that. There should have been no reason why we couldn't recreate it against City. And it remains, I think, the most disappointing performance I've seen from a Liverpool team in years. I mean, I'm going back to Rodgers' era where I felt as disappointed. And there's been some stinkers under Klopp as well, but this was just abject. It was just shocking.
It felt 14-15, didn't it, when it was coming to the end, like just so disjointed, where you were like, what is going on?
It did, man. It did. And we're not indulgers in hyperbole on this show. We don't do that. And, if you're in the comments screaming that we're looking for Arnie to go, that's absolutely nonsense. Nobody wants that lad to turn it around more than I do. Bald brethren need a chance in life. And I want him to do well. I love the guy. I think he's great. I think his personality is ideal for the club. But something is awry at the moment, whether it's all him or whether it's a combination of factors that we're maybe not even fully aware of. But something's very, very wrong at the moment. And here's the dream, man. Florian Wirtz playing well from the left. Alexander Isak playing through the middle, scoring goals. Why is that a dream? They're two fantastic footballers.
Yeah.
This is the thing. When you used to have a kickabout and you'd get together the best possible group of your pals you could, you'd all just click because you were good footballers and the best players work well together. There's too much talk about plans here. There's something more basic awry. And Wirtz is the main victim of whatever is awry within the club, within the vision for the club that's currently under Arne Slot. I think Florian Wirtz is the biggest victim of it.
Yeah, it's probably well phrased. And you'll have seen the reaction today. And this isn't dismissing it all. It's completely right to be looking at things like Liverpool's struggles against the long ball and what the stats are showing there and how long they've been going. Of course, it's right to call that out. Liverpool's lack of physicality, the inability to progress it, pick up the second ball. All of that is completely correct. Needs to be fixed. There's no doubt about it. And as you alluded to, this feels like a pivotal run of games coming up, doesn't it? All the way through to Christmas. Football ain't played on paper, but when you look at where the opposition is in the table. There's a lot at home. You should be expecting a solid run if we're going to do anything this season. So I suppose with that and Florian Wirtz, does Arne Slot need to commit to something with this guy and say, right, you're going to be on the left, but with the freedom, does he need to sort of commit to a plan and stick to it with this player?
It's sticking out a mile that it needs to happen. And there's something probably a little bit willful about the fact that it didn't happen sooner. And when we did see him operate with great effect, you put that heat map up for the Real Madrid game. There was one particularly bright yellowy orange spot up on the right-hand side where he drifted across and got involved right on the byline on the right-hand side to great effect in the game. It was class. This is a guy who's just given a little bit of freedom to play across, but mainly from that left-hand side in an attacking capacity. Now, it's more complex than that. Everybody knows that. He'll have more duties than that. But let's be honest, the top of the midfield trio experiment did not work in any way, shape, or form. Did having the three lads back fix all our problems? Well, against City, you can see it didn't. But I still think 3 from those 4 need to start every game, including Curtis Jones in the mix.
Yeah.
And if we have that platform, if we have a comparatively settled defence, whether it's Robbo or Kirkes, it looks like it's Connor Bradley, and we know who it is at centre half. And then you can have a front line ahead of them of either Hugo or Alexander Isak, with Mo flanking, or maybe Mo stepping out every so often. We're going to have to approach that one at some point for our other attacking right winger that we signed during the summer. And Wirtz playing consistently in the team from that side. He'll work it out, Dave. He'll work it out. And if the manager gives him a chance to do that, he will adapt and he'll work it out. Now, will he be happy because he's not the 10 that he was promised? I don't give a shit, man. I just want us to start getting better, and I want him to start playing more consistently. And here, guess what? If he starts contributing goals and assists, I think he'll feel pretty damn okay, man. So yeah, that I think it's an absolute necessity to let him continue to play in that effective area on the left-hand side of the attack for a long run of games.
It's funny, isn't it? Football always have fashionable bits. We've been through periods where everyone wanted a 10 behind the lone front man, didn't they? We've had all the formations, 3-5-2s and all this. What never goes out of fashion is playing well and winning. And if we're going to start doing that, Florian Wirtz is going to be absolutely central to it. And I suppose to segue into the final, it's almost like a bridging topic, this a little bit. And it sort of steers to what we've talked about so often. The Florian Wirtz conversation's been a bit, from some who are a bit wild. And it's a wider conversation of, did we get the summer wrong? Did we profile the wrong type of players? Did we go ballers? We didn't buy any physicality, DMs, things that we seem to be needed. Trev, I mean, we've talked about this and exchanged WhatsApp messages when we got the info. The fact that Antoine Semenyo is now back on the agenda solidly for January, and this isn't being derogatory about the player because he's got unbelievable physical gifts. I'm not sure he's the priority, but that's a different conversation as well. But just the fact he's back on the docket for January, is that not kind of a semi-admittance we got it wrong in the summer?
Like you said, you and I have both spoken about this privately, and you touched on it in a kind of very tactful way on the transfer show, without digging anyone out. But football is very much what have you done for me lately, and so if that is the metric that we're going to go by, then they got it wrong, because Alexander Isak hasn't played, and Florian Wirtz has been a shadow of himself. And the combination of Wirtz being shoehorned into the team and several other weird decisions involving fullbacks has meant Mo Salah was not central to our team and therefore ineffective for long periods. So the knock-on effect of all the recruitment has not been positive. So yeah, but now you'll also have people screaming in the chat rooms about they weren't bought for 5 months, they were bought for 5 years. Yeah, brilliant. Super. Dave, I'm hearing lads having chats over the last couple of days about how, winning the Premier League is now, I think Gibbo wrote something about this, about how winning the Premier League is now actually not the beginning of a period of dominance, but actually the end of something. And it's all about, it's almost like there's an inevitable collapse, and you have to prove yourself twice as much. And
why are we pretending we're butterflies and we've got to shed our skin and go back into a chrysalis and start it all again? Where is this coming from?
I understand people are clutching at straws, but it's all very maybe not butterfly, but snowflakey chat to me. I mean, there's enough good footballers there for us to be in the top 2, even or the top 3 if we're having if we're having a bit of a wobble. But it's gone to the dogs. It's been awful to watch, terrible stuff to watch. So in the bigger scheme of things, to answer your question, it doesn't look great for the overall vision of our recruitment team at the moment. And if you're saying Semenyo is the answer, and like you said, Indy Kayla hammering that one home on a regular basis, if he is the answer, what the fuck is the question? Because the question for me at the start of the summer was, how do we replace the dynamism of Lucho on the left-hand side? Don't tell me Cody Gakpo, because we were delighted we had the Cody versus Lucho option.
Yeah.
But now it's just Cody, is it? Okay, that's brilliant. Good thinking. But obviously Semenyo would make a difference on a flank. And if Mo was as flat as he's been, wouldn't it have been great to have him on that other side either? So, it feels a little bit, Dave, and it's almost like, isn't it like sacrilege to say it about our exalted, absolutely hero worshipped.
Hail to the nerds,
all hail to Mickey and Richie and the boys. It's not looking great for them at the moment, and you can tell me it's 5 years, not 5 months, all you like. I'm enough of a shallow man to admit that I buy into the "what have you done for me lately" as well. In that I won't let us off the hook, but I also want it now. Right, we have enough good players, Dave, to be in the running for both big pots and have a real chance of winning one of them. At the moment, it feels a mile away.
We didn't buy this team like a TV and sort of a council house deal of like a stupid APR and buy now, pay later. This was not how it was supposed to work. So that comes into the mix, and I mean this probably lands us nicely on this last topic about the contract concerns, because as you said, people have gone through it, of the rationalization of no, 5 years, not 5 months, and we've done the bulk of the business. This sets us up. If you look at Liverpool's contract situation across the board and who's running down, who's entering those last 2 years, who might be leaving, because everyone's just kind of, we've done the churn, this was the big summer. Maybe in terms of the spend, but there's some real questions to ask over certain players. And to be honest, Trev, you mentioned the GOAT there. It probably starts with him, Indy Callier, and he was tweeting literally earlier about this, that Liverpool have made their final offer to Ibu. The offer would make him one of the highest earners at the club. And interestingly, actually, an article earlier saying that if he doesn't, they're saying like take it or leave it now with Konaté, that they will possibly move for Gay in January as well. So that's come into the mix, despite that being dismissed by others. And we've heard there's this weird kind of triangle going on, isn't there, with Ibu, Upamecano, Schlotterbeck, Real, Bayern, all the links that go round. But in terms of the contract concerns, everyone wants to tell you, and I do shows with Patch Journos, who, to be fair to them, will say, well, there's nothing confirmed either way. And I'm not denying that. There's nothing confirmed either way. But that ain't going to keep you warm at night when you need people to stay and commit, is it really, like Ibu?
Yeah, and Konaté is really the one, isn't he, that's driving so much conversation. And the sad reason that he's driving the conversation is the exact opposite of why Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk were driving conversation, as we were talking about them and their contracts for an interminable amount of time. It felt so stressful and frustrating all the way through the last campaign. But we reached the right conclusion. And we got there on the back of them having played out of their skins to earn those contracts, those two lads in particular. And obviously we had the Trent nonsense going on. But similar to the Trent nonsense, it's always felt to me like Ibu's on his way out, or that he's going to want to try something different, and that the lure of PSG or Real would be too much for him, and that it's likely to be the case. And when you and I did the story during the summer, it was about, well, now he's on 80 and he wants 200 plus, and the club aren't happy at that number, and he wants to feel respected. So if there's anything to the rumors there that are going around from Indy and the boys, that they've made a really decent offer to him now, and it's up to him to accept it or not. Yeah. Well, at least we've reached this stage, if you'll pardon my French, of shit or get off the pot, because it's getting frustrating, the whole thing. And the reason the contrast is there now is because we're talking about Ibu and his contract situation, because Dave, huge amounts of Liverpool fans are saying, fuck him, I don't care. If he goes, he's been rubbish, let him off. If he doesn't want to sign for the club, let him off. And it's hard to argue based on the form. Now, you and I both very fond of this player. We know how good he can be, has been. I'd love nothing more than him and Virgil to stay together as a partnership for a couple of years and actually win us a couple more big pots. We're going to need recruitment, though, one way or the other. If he goes, there has to be two high-class people coming in. There has to be. And again, I mean, I don't know where you think this is going, but I doubt January sees any change, either incoming or outgoing, for us in defence. I could be wrong, but like, unless I'm mistaken, wasn't it Joycey and several others saying it's an absolute no-go for Guehi in January, which means that Konaté is staying regardless and will leave on a free, probably, if he's going to leave?
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that, because I know, but he's still here, and I get it. People going, oh no, now's the time, they're going to move it forward for Guehi, and it's always a possibility, isn't it? But yeah, as you said, Ornstein, Joyce, Romano, all been unequivocally clear. The noises is that, you know, they're not going to do it in January after what's happened. They're going to wait for the freebie, and it is clearly there, the interest. You know, as Louis Steele even mentioned today. They're looking, and we said on the transfer show they're looking as well, but it's just such a hard market, January, isn't it? And Liverpool, let's be honest, everyone knows what Liverpool needs, so there's going to be a premium on signings anyway for January. It's Liverpool. They've proved they'll spend big at the same time, so no one's going to give it them cheap even for a second. The days of those, you know, bargain Emre Can things, I think, are well dead because of where we sit in the food chain now as well. So it just makes it so difficult to get anything done. And I mean, that's Ibu, Trev. So contract concerns, you expect that to be done. You probably clocked this one as well. I actually think, in a way, Andy Robertson did the club a solid with this, because he's on Scotland duties, quite honest, you know, behind scenes talk that's the focus, because Scotland are trying to qualify for the World Cup. But he got the contract question. He said, you know, essentially, no one, you know, I've had no talks, no offers. As it says there on the screen, everyone was bored of talking about Mo, Virgil, Trent, but my relationship with the club is wonderful. They've done everything for me and my family. I've not been too bad for them for 8 million and what I've done. Whatever happens will happen, and I'm relaxed about the situation. If it's my last year, it's my last year. If it's not, then so be it. I mean, I don't know about, I think he's done them a massive solid, because there's no, I'm the vice captain, I've got this record, I can't believe no one's come and talked to me about a new contract. This is a total, like, I've had a great time, I've got great value, the club's got great value, c'est la vie.
You used the word on the transfer show talking about it when you mentioned it, or whatever today's show was, that you said it was classy. And that's a word that, like, all a modern footballer has to do is, like, show a modicum of kindness to a kid, and it's classy, right? But that was genuinely classy from Andy Robertson, because, like you say, he could have been crying tears as big as October cabbages and having a big old moan about how he doesn't feel respected and loved and all he's doing for the club. I think I loved what he said, and it just reaffirmed, I think, for me, you know, what a great fella he is. He's such a great character. He's such a good presence around the club.
Yeah.
Then I dread the thoughts of him not being in and around the squad. I really do. I think he's a marvelous influence in there, and his professional attitude is second to none. But yeah, he has probably done the club such a solid, as you say, to not be demanding, to take some of the noise down around the constant hum of angst that's around Liverpool at the moment. He had an opportunity there to contribute to it in a way that was subtle. Even he didn't have to do a big cry. He could have just said, "Well, I'd like to think I'm going to get," but he didn't. He was just really frank about it. I loved what he said. I thought it summed up his career at Liverpool perfectly. We have gotten outrageous value from him, and he has gotten outrageous love from the club and the supporters, in terms of his rewards financially, in terms of how the club have treated him over the years, how the fans have idolized him. And it came across as, I thought, beautifully professional and genuinely classy.
Loved it. And for people who go, well, that's just expected for someone at his level, maybe just rewind a few summers back when a certain captain was told he wasn't going to be a first choice anymore, and how that ended up playing out across the board. Just, let's just bring that into the mix. So don't diminish that statement. It was top notch by Robbo. But I mean, Trev, so we're already expecting you're probably Ibu's going in the nicest possible way. It's a lovely exit ceremony for Robbo that all the noises are and the expectations are.
Hey, and don't forget Ali behind him, because there's a big old chance he's going too.
Oh, yeah. See, the question marks are around Ali. That we'll go through the pitch because there's so many people. But this one is completely under the radar. Now, we talked about this repeatedly in the summer. It kept saying it. Our info was, it's almost like people have just, Men in Black, where they press that thing and they just forget everything. Everyone seems to be ignoring this situation a little bit. Curtis Jones is within the last 2 years of his deal. The last 2 years. As we told you at the time, they had chat with him and his people in the summer, and it was kind of, they were miles apart. So it was broke off and it was supposed to resume. And since then, Cody's got a big fat deal. There's the renewal talks with Ibu and all that type of thing. But it's just a bit silent. And also, Curtis will be looking and thinking, you've opened talks, as we all know now, with Grav early doors, Szoboszlai early doors. I am the Scouser in the team now as well. It's a little bit quiet, but you'd expect maybe this to get done, but maybe expect too strong. Curtis Jones, and especially with his talent, how important he is now for the team, he won't be settling for a cheapo, will he?
He'd be very wrong to. You probably noted with an arched eyebrow, the same as I did, that on the back of a couple of really good recent showings, he was interviewed and he spoke in a very self-confident way about what he can contribute to the team and how he feels he's an important part of the team. And to me, it really felt marked and a pronounced kind of thing where he was saying, don't forget about what I offer this squad. Yeah. Don't forget that I'm a good option for a starting 11. Whether he's speaking to the manager, to the club, to the people who are doing the bargaining for his contract, who knows? Maybe he's just reminding the fans. But I thought it was all very valid. And like I said to you 15, 20 minutes ago, he is one of the four who should be on constant rotation in that midfield. And if any of them is dropping, for example, if Mac has gone back, he needs to be out and Curtis in, because the difference between top end Mac and lower end Mac is gargantuan. He looks, when he's the version against Man City, like he's been space jammed, and it's so sad because he was our best midfielder, possibly the best midfielder in the whole Premier League last year. So whatever's going on there, that's another thing. As we go through this show, Dave, and we're talking about very specific things, it is clear, isn't it, that there is a sort of a layer upon layer of issues that this manager is having to deal with. And, where they all stem from, or whether they're all just unfortunately occurring at the same time, it is a big ask. And Curtis Jones, just for continuity's sake, surely you make sure that he's not. But you did get the impression, didn't you, that he wasn't getting offered the colour of what he thought he should be getting offered, in the same way that Konaté was quite offended, apparently, by the early offers to him. So let's see how the low balling goes.
I think that's so important to say, because, as we said in the summer, they broke it off because it was miles away. And part of that was because he was looking at the level of your Gravenbergs, Szoboszlais, McAllisters, and going, I want. Now, don't forget, two of those we know are in definitive contract renewal. So they're not going to take a lesser wage, are they? Szoboszlai's going to raise the bar. Gravenberg, and even Lewis Steele wrote today in his confidential thing to say that McAllister's initial talk. So if there's a gap already and there's a potential for probably 2, maybe even 3 to go up, Curtis Jones isn't going to settle anywhere in between. And he knows his value as homegrown at the same time and what that means for Liverpool's squad. So that's just a complication in the mix. And trying not to sound terrible, but I don't think people are maybe always grasping this, Trev. We've said Konaté, we said Robbo, probably Curtis Jones, we expect that to get done, but still a question mark of how difficult that is. We've mentioned Szoboszlai and Grav, and again, the difficulty that might now, but expectation that gets done. So you say, that's not too bad then. But let's put some names on the table. Everyone expects Joe Gomez to go in the summer because he can't get a game even when Ibu doesn't show up, for God's sake. And, they nearly went to AC Milan. So that's another one out the mix. Endo, of course, is probably going to go, unless he's going to start playing Mighty Red on the weekends and dressing up as the mascot, essentially. So that's one there as well. As you said, question marks around Alisson longer term. Even, and this is sacrilege almost to say, but there's real question marks around Mo Salah, isn't there? And what he will play in the mix, for his longer term. Chiesa is, of course, going to leave because it doesn't matter what he does. Arne Slot is not going to play him. So, Trev, when you stack that up, because everyone's saying, we've done the churn, we've done the summer, we've got question marks, it's fair to say, of about 7 or 8 right now, haven't we? And that's before bringing in the ones we're safer on, like getting Jones renewed, Grav and Mac. That there could be big turnover with contracts and the situations.
Well, you said the word. You said the word churn. And we, on our show over the summer, we were predicting when the early bit of business got done for Wirtz, holy shit, is it going to be one of those summers where there's a lot of turnover? And we had a feeling in our bones that was going to be the case. And now we have a situation where a lot of senior players, you mentioned them, Salah, McAllister, Alisson, Gomez.
Yeah.
These guys, it looks as if there could be an end coming to their Liverpool time for various different reasons. Now, you say that to people and it's almost like they're in denial. First of all, they say, what are you talking about, Alisson? What are you talking about? Look it up. What are you talking about, McAllister? What are you talking about? Look it up. Papa McAllister's out there talking about Real Madrid from minute 1. Yeah. So, and Chiesa is a proud professional. There's only so many times he makes a decision like the one he just made in the summer. So, yeah, churn is, if not inevitable, highly likely. So, I hope people are getting their heads around that this project could take another big lurch very, very soon, as in the window after the one's about to come up.
Yeah. And it's like you said, as soon as Ibu goes, we know we need centre-halves. And I desperately don't want this to be true, but there is question marks about when you get an injury like Leone's, how that affects you, how you come back. So that comes into the mix. But as you just spelled out there, how many are people certain of when you say Alisson, Ibu, Robbo, Gomez from the back line, McAllister, Salah, Chiesa, if you want to go high? I mean, that's 7. Endo, if you want to drop back to the midfield, that's 8. How many are we confident that those will be at Anfield next season? And remember as well, I think this is important, Trev, what Arne Slot said in his last few press conferences when he's been asked about it. He likes his words, a small squad, doesn't he? He said repeatedly, I want sort of 18, 19 who are almost first teamers, that are going to play, because I don't want players sitting on the bench. It's not healthy, in his words, for that to happen a year or so or more. So there's your Chiesa answer a little bit as well. But even the likes of, sounding harsh, Trey Ione, Rio and Gamoa just don't seem to get a look in or have a chance. And you had the under-21 boss talking about that the other day, saying, it's kind of suffering a bit, Trey Ione, because it's becoming quite clear, no matter how bad that midfield gets at times, you ain't got a chance, kid. It's just the way it works. So for everyone who's going, this has been it. And as you said, almost back to the original question on the statement of, no, this is for 5 years. Don't worry. It's not a 5 months thing. Might get a bit more of this come the summer, might we?
We might. And you listed off the list there, Ali, Ibu, Mac, Joe, Robbo, Mo, Fedi. We've just finished talking about Dominik Szoboszlai as captain in waiting. What if that doesn't hit the mark? What if he doesn't feel respected by the offer he gets? What if he just fancies going and winning a league title with Real Madrid and there's some truth in that? What if Curtis Jones doesn't get offered money because the club insists on lowballing him still? And he thinks, I could be a first teamer with so many different clubs and make a sideways step to a Villa or a mid-ish to upper mid-table club and be in a kind of constantly playing in the first team situation. Now, Curtis is a Scouser and a fiercely proud one. And he'll want to stay at the club. So I really hope they can make that work. I hope they can make it work with Dom as well. We both hope that Ibu's offer is enough for him to say, yeah, I'll stay. And it simplifies things. Maybe we get Guehi in the summer and we're good to go. But there are too many question marks and too many real options available to all of those players to bury your head in the sand and say, well, it's a settled squad now. We just need to add 1 or 2 more pieces. Yeah, but what happens when you subtract 3 or 4 after that? So I hate to say it, buddy, but we could be heading for the churn again.
Yeah, everyone who's thinking this is back to the summer of 1 or 2 with us scratching around on Reece Williams' loan deal to Morecambe, it might just be a little bit like it was last year. Brace yourselves for that one, people. But there we are, eh? 1,000,001 things talked about, in all honesty. Dominik Szoboszlai is world class. Whether you like your eye test, whether you like your stats, however you want to dress it up, every metric you can possibly come up with. Florian Wirtz, Arne Slot's got to solve it because he's got his talent. He's got his adaptation period as well, but we want to see something soon from manager and player. And contract-wise, get that churn ready. Don't just dismiss that and think we're back to the 2 or 3 in the summer. There's big questions coming up. Mate, we don't do this often enough, but it's always good to chat it through. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the takes. I enjoyed coming at it from all angles. Massively appreciated as ever.
Oh, man, exactly the same here. And I always feel upbeat after the conversations, even though what we tend to do is pick at the scab until it gets even bigger and we end up with even more concerns. But at least we try to do it in a way that's slightly, like I say, upbeat and slightly focusing on the positives that can occur as well as the negatives. So yeah, man, as ever, a joy. Talk to you soon.
We tried to be positive for you. We tried to upbeat you. If it is a scab and infection, so be it. But
sorry.
There we go. That, ladies and gents, was another big decisions for Anfield.